The L. Scooter Libby trial continues. We're finding out a great deal of information in the Scooter Libby trial, not the least of which is that Libby is actually covering, or had been covering, for the vice president and the president, but also that he was used as the sacrificial lamb for Karl Rove, so that poor Karl wouldn't get covered on this. Conservative trash talker Laura Ingraham outlines her concern on C-SPAN. Take a look at it.
What struck me about this, a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, is very conservative from Kentucky. His dad called him up after the speech. His father is right-wing Christian conservative. Called him up after the speech, after Webb's speech, and said, "Did you just hear this Webb guy?" It's like, I haven't heard a Democrat talk like that for years. I heard more and more people saying the same thing. And I'm not saying I'm agreeing with Webb or his views, but I'm saying if you're a Democrat and you're trying to broaden that base away from the Hollywood elites and away from the the various special interest groups and the special victims units that they have in their camp, that's the kind of person you want to look to. Remember Harry Reid's response to the President's State of the Union? Remember that? Compared to this?
But, okay, so what...
Then you have the Rove legacy. After all of this, Rove ginned up the base. He ginned up the conservative Christians with using the 3 Gs, gays, guns, and God. Well, he gins up the base, and now he's got them all going. Now they're actually looking at this presidential election and realizing, oh my God, what have we done? Literally. The problem is that the two that are scoring the best with the conservative Christians happen to be Mitt Romney and also Senator Sam Brownback. Both of these two are literally right-wing wingnuts, and they have very little chance of winning. Well, they have no chance of winning of the general election. So the problem is all of their numbers in their primary are going to be terribly skewed because of this. It'll be quite interesting to see how this plays out for Republicans, but it's not looking good. Not looking good at all, especially when then just this past week, Mayor Giuliani comes out in a photo spread where he's all over his wife. Oh, no, not his wife that he divorced just frequently, but no, his mistress that he turned around and married. I'm sure that's going to go over really well with the conservative Christians. Way to go there, Mayor Giuliani. Anyhow, I'm going to be calling this the Rove blowback, so stay tuned for more information on that. In our clip of the week, Jon Stewart takes a look at the incredibly awkward social situation room. This is just too funny. You got to take a look at this. Take a look.
But I want to get back to a subject that we were discussing earlier this week. It was an interview that Wolf Blitzer conducted with our Vice President Cheney, in which Mr. Blitzer brought up how many of the president's conservative supporters are criticizing Cheney's gay daughter's position to have a baby with her life partner.
Do you want to respond to that?
No, I don't. I think you're...
Your daughter, no, we like your daughters. Believe me, I'm very, very sympathetic to Liz and to Mary. I like them both. That was just a question that's come up, and it's a responsible, fair question.
That conversation, of course, taking place in the incredibly awkward social situation room. Well, yesterday, the Vice President's daughter, Mary Cheney, who herself has written a book about her experiences and campaigned for her father, spoke on the importance of respecting her privacy at a Glamour magazine-sponsored forum.
This is a baby. This is a blessing from God. It is not a political statement. It is not a prop to be used in a debate by people on either side of any issue.
Thank you. Exactly. Mary Cheney's child is not a political prop. That is strictly limited to everybody else's children.
Each of these children began his or her life as a frozen embryo.
For these children, our children, and for all of America's children.
There is another frozen embryo. Here's one that, as she explains, is saying, "What, are you going to kill me?"
Good stuff. Cheney himself has maintained a somewhat inconsistent position on whether or not it's appropriate to discuss his daughter. For instance, John Edwards is allowed to bring it up in the context of the vice presidential debate.
And let me simply thank the senator for the kind words he said about my family and
and our daughter.
How gaseous of him. And yet, when John Kerry brings it up 8 days later...
If you were to talk to Dick Cheney's daughter, who is a lesbian...
You saw a man who will say and do anything.
This is not a good man.
By the way, she was talking about John Kerry. For more, we turn to our senior media critic, John Oliver. John, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you being here. Now, why is Dick Cheney's daughter, public figure, she's written a book, campaign, why is bringing her up off limits?
John, he's our vice president. We must respect him by treating his daughter's homosexuality like the darkest of taboos. We may have questions. Nature versus nurture. Is she gay because the gay gene bursts through every corpuscle of Cheney's blood? Or did she choose to be gay due to his and Lynn Cheney's failing as parents? Or neither? All good questions, none fit for asking aloud.
John, I understand that personal lives are separate from politics, but in this case, Vice President Cheney is part of a White House that campaigned for a constitutional amendment banning gay marriage.
Wait, now, just stop right there. You are out of line. Dick Cheney's policies are private matters, personal lifestyle choices. Whom he wiretaps, which oil executive he secretly meets with, whom he sends overseas for torturing, that's between him and his constitution. It is none of our concern what he chooses to do to us behind closed doors.
So his policies are off limits. His personal life is off limits, even where they intersect with his policies. What is in bounds in terms of what you can ask the Vice President?
Well, there are 14 things, John, and they're quite simple to remember. I use a little mnemonic. You may ask him about golf, oil, fly fishing, U.S. success in Iraq, cockfighting...
All right. I see where we're going with this, and it's really...
Well, don't you want to hear about the kangaroos?
No, I don't. Thank you very much. John Oliver, perhaps there's some way that we can shed some light on this subject. Here to join us now to talk about it, the daughter of former Democratic House Majority Leader and presidential candidate Dick Gephardt, Chrissy Gephardt. Thank you very much for joining us, Chrissy. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for joining us. Now, again, I know this is a sensitive topic. When did you first learn that your father was a politician?
Well, that would be my first opportunity. I had consciousness because he was a politician when I was born.
Do you feel like he chose to be one?
Yeah, he definitely made a choice to be a politician, but I think he was born to be a politician. I mean, people always say my dad was born in a blue suit, so...
Do you think that children should be raised by politicians?
You know, that's actually a very interesting question because I don't know, you could say I'm pretty much damaged from having a father that's a politician. I mean, I think I'm an extra good bull artist.
So imagine the hell Mary Cheney must have been through.
Yeah, well...
With Dick Cheney as a father. I mean, imagine if your father shot an old man in the face and didn't tell anybody.
Thank God my father's never had to deal with any kind of publicity thing like that. Thank God.
It's an interesting quandary. Let me ask you, you have a little bit in common, obviously, with Mary Cheney. You've been active politically. Both your fathers were active in national politics and the other thing. Should we leave Dick Cheney alone if his policies concerning gay marriage and those things are apropos to his own family?
I think it's fair game. I mean, I think that, you know, Wolf Blitzer said, you know, here are the teachings of James Dobson, and it's in direct conflict with how you feel about your daughter. And, you know, I don't see what's so out of line about it. I mean, it was a genuinely fair question. I mean, you know, Mary's out in the public. She's got a book. She talks about the fact that she's a lesbian. There should be nothing wrong with it. But obviously, they don't want to talk about it because it doesn't suit them and it alienates their base. I mean, it's total political maneuvering.
Do you
at
think
its finest.
it'd be like, let's say Strom Thurmond, who advocated for segregation. Let's say he ended up having a black daughter. Would it not point out both the rank hypocrisy of his political positions and the cowardice in not fighting for the human rights of your own flesh and blood?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think you have to be honest about who your family is and who your children are. I mean, and
that everybody is somebody's child, even other people's gay people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I appreciate you joining us very much, and I hope none of this was out of line. And thank you very much, Chrissy Gephardt.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Great work, John. And finally, in memoriam, we say goodbye to Molly Ivins. Best-selling author and columnist Molly Ivins, the sharp-witted liberal who skewered the political establishment and referred to President Bush as the shrub, died this past Wednesday after a long battle with breast cancer. She was 62. Molly was an amazing individual. I read her columns frequently. She is going to be sorely missed, so we definitely have a hard time saying goodbye. These are two proud and strong Texas women that we've said goodbye to in the past year, and they'll definitely both be missed. And that is your progressive news for this week. We want to thank you for joining us here on Blue Mondays. Also, if you would like more news and information, you can check us out online. Go to www.youtube.com/AOC Blue Mondays. There you'll be able to see all of our shows, including all of the archives that we have set up there for you. Also, don't forget, tomorrow morning you can log on over to theadvertiser.com. There you'll be able to check my weekly column, The Left Blog. There I take a look at the different things that are shaping up both in our area, in our state, and in our country. Hopefully you'll be able to take a listen to that, look at that information and shoot me over your thoughts. Let me know how I'm doing over there. Also, we want to remind you can check out the Lafayette Democrats website. Their website is LafayetteDemocrats.org. There you'll find a lot of information, calendar, and a lot of different things that are going on in the area that you'll definitely want to know about. And we also want to remind you to check out Democracy Now! Every single weekday here on AOC Channel 16, one up from this channel, you'll be able to watch Democracy Now! There, Amy Goodman and her team report to you the unembedded news from around the world. They're doing an amazing job over there, and they're not in the constraints of the corporate media bias. So give them a look every day at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. weekdays. As a matter of fact, after you watch maybe, The Daily Show, after you get done watching us here tonight, click on over to Comedy Central, watch The Daily Show and this Colbert Report, then switch over to Amy Goodman and friends over there at Democracy Now! On AOC Channel 16. I think it would be a great way to spend your Monday nights. And with that, we'll be right back.
This Week in History. In 1841, the first ongoing filibuster in the United States Senate begins February 18th and lasts until March 11th. In 1854, Texas linked by telegraph with the rest of the United States, with the completion of the connection between New Orleans and Marshall, Texas. In 1879, women's rights. American President Rutherford B. Hayes signs a bill allowing female attorneys to argue cases before the Supreme Court of the United States. In 1899, voting machines are approved by the U.S. Congress for use in federal elections. In 1909, the National Association for the Advancement of the Colored People, NAACP, is founded. In 1933, the Blaine Act ends prohibition in the United States. In 1953, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz signed an $8 million contract to continue the I Love Lucy television series through 1955. In 1968, in Haleyville, Alabama, the first 911 emergency telephone system goes into service. In 1978, the first computer bulletin board system is created, CBBS, in Chicago, Illinois. In 1980, Walter Cronkite announces his retirement from the CBS Evening News. 1992, a court in Milwaukee, Wisconsin sentences serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer to life in prison. In 1998, the presidential line item veto is declared unconstitutional by the United States federal judge. In 2000, the last original Peanuts comic strip appears in newspapers one day after Charles M. Schulz dies. In 2003, protests against the Iraq War occur in over 600 cities worldwide. Estimates from 8 million to 30 million people took part, making this the largest peace demonstration in the history of the world. Celebrating birthdays this week: Hal Holbrook, Senator John Warner, Kim Jong-il, Michael Bloomberg, Jerry Springer, Stockard Channing, Teller of Penn & Teller, Sybil Shepherd, Jane Seymour, Melissa Manchester, Michael McDonald, John Travolta, Matt Groening, Arsenio Hall, James Ingram, LeVar Burton, Vanna White, Ice-T, John McEnroe, Michael Jordan, Matt Dillon, Dr. Dre, Josh Brolin, Molly Ringwald, Denise Richards, Rob Thomas, Jerry O'Connell, Robbie Williams, Christina Ricci, Jason Ritter, Joseph Jordan LeVay, Paris Hilton. This has been a look back at history for the week of February 12th through February 18th. This Week in History is brought to you by Blue Mondays. Blue Mondays is on each and every Monday night at 9 p.m. on AOC Channel 15. Blue Mondays, your weekly progressive voice in Acadiana.
All right, so now that I'm back from Washington, D.C., and having listened to all the Democratic presidential candidates, I thought I would bring you some of the clips, some of the things that I found that were really interesting in their comments there. They did an amazing job. Security was obviously very tight, but we had DNC members and people from organizations from around the country. It was really, really an amazing event. You know, having heard all of these different candidates do an amazing job, and also having met most of them in the hallways and in their social rooms afterwards, it was really good. But you know what? It really came down to it, and in talking with the hundreds of people that we got to see there, you know, really 4 people rose to the top, and I've decided to go ahead and rank them. However, first, I'd like to give out the honorable mention. Receiving honorable mention, but likely not going to get nominated, is Senator Chris Dodd. You know, Chris Dodd did an amazing job. His speech was unlike anybody else's because he really thanked the people that were assembled there in the hall for all of the hard work they did in turning over the Congress, both the House and the Senate, back over to the Democrats. That was really well received in there, in the group, rather than all of the other speeches, the me, and the I. It was really nice to actually see that. Also, the honorable mention goes to him because he put a great gift bag in all of our rooms. So obviously, that got him a few brownie points there. It definitely didn't hurt him. So that's good. Coming in fourth, and this is probably going to surprise some people. Coming in fourth, Senator Hillary Clinton. You know, perhaps it was the hype. The hype was just so feverish on her and Barack Obama that I can't help but say that once we actually heard her talk, I don't know, she didn't really inspire that many people. Yes, I think it's amazing. I'm so glad that we have the leader in this fight as a female, being raised by a single mom. I know the power that gives to millions of young women across our country. That's definitely a good thing. But her arguments that she was giving and the points that she was laying out were so incredibly nuanced, especially that on the Iraq War. It definitely led to a lot of questions and raised eyebrows. I think that she also received the fewest of the standing ovations in the room. Also, I have to say, negative brownie points going to the Hillary Clinton camp, just because when the previous speaker that was speaking, one of the also Rans, Dennis Kucinich, while he was speaking, her campaign staffers were going around handing out signs for people to hold up while she was speaking. Now, all the other candidates were handing them out into the hallway so that you could pick which one you wanted to carry. But no, her staff was actually passing them out. I thought it was incredibly rude. So definitely brownie points were taken away there. And, last but not least, I just gotta say that it was probably the hype. She didn't do a good job. Now, let me just say, that could have been skewered because people sitting right, probably not even 50 feet away from me, standing up along the wall, were a group of Code Pinkers. These folks definitely were not happy with the senator, and you know what? Rightfully so. She needs to make some decisions and admit her feelings on Iraq. She needs to do that. Coming in third place in my mind was Senator Barack Obama. You know what? I really want to love this guy. I think it's great that he's doing such an amazing job. I think it's great that we basically drafted him into this race. But the whole time during the speech, he was talking so nebulously. He was talking about all of these large things, about how we don't need to get into the seediness of politics. But there was just no there. Yes, he was inspiring. Yes, it was great to hear from him. And yes, I really do like him. But you can't help but walk away from that speech realizing that the man doesn't have that much experience. Now, that's not to say that in the next 2 years, after all, this man's had more experience than George W. Bush did, probably still has, since it looks like he slept through most of his administration. So, I have to tell you, third place, and again, it's maybe because he's just not living up to the hype. So, regretfully so. Coming in second in my mind was Governor Bill Richardson, and this was a big shock to me. It was a huge shock, actually, because Governor Richardson is an amazing man. I mean, I don't think that there's anyone in this race that has a better resume. After all, this is a man who formerly served as Secretary of Energy. He used to be an ambassador. He has dealt with Iran, Iraq, with Kim Jong-il and those of his ilk. The man is definitely very well traveled. Also, he's been an incredibly popular governor. He has reduced the deficits there in New Mexico, and he's done some really amazing things there with the healthcare system. So the man obviously is incredibly impressive, but you know what? He really went out of his way. He was the only candidate that actually went out into the hallways, and as people were coming into the general session, he was there shaking hands. I haven't seen that since I was to church last. That was, in my eyes, quite amazing. Whereas Hillary and Senator Clinton and Senator Obama were really kept underneath close-knit quarters. So that I didn't really like. But you know what? I was really amazed and really pleasantly surprised with Governor Bill Richardson. And perhaps it's because he didn't have any hype. As a matter of fact, he just declared his candidacy not even, a little bit over a week ago. But first place, in my mind, and this is first place by a mile, must go to Senator John Edwards. Edwards, as you'll probably remember, was the vice presidential candidate with Senator Kerry. But Edwards did such an amazing job in his speech. I want you to take a listen just at some of these points.
It is time. It is time to be patriotic about something other than war. It's not tomorrow. Not tomorrow, now. To speak out now. To take action now. We don't have to wait and see if the promises of this campaign will be met in 2009. Tomorrow begins today. We can take responsibility for this country today. We can take action today. Because somewhere in America, everywhere in America, people are counting on us to stand up for them. So let's stand together. We have always been the party who stood with working men and women. We have always been the party who stood with the needy. We have always been the party who stood with the frail, with the children, with the elderly. That's who we are. Brothers and sisters, in times like these, we don't need to redefine the Democratic Party. We need to reclaim the Democratic Party.
The crowd went nuts. I mean, the crowd was all on their feet through almost his entire speech. He did such an amazing job, and he's doing so much right now without waiting until Election Day. He's already out there now making a difference. I strongly recommend people give him a second look. Check out his website at johnedwards.com. So, you know what? That's my recap of Washington, D.C. I hope you found it helpful. Hope you found it interesting. And with that, that's all we have time for, guys. I apologize. We hope this show was informative to you. Next week, we're going to be bringing you all new interviews. We are actually getting ready to travel the 7th Congressional District and talk to different folks from the state party, from Lake Charles, from right here in Lafayette, and from all parts there and in between. We hope you will join us next week for an all-new show here on AOC Channel 15 at 9 o'clock on Monday. Until then, thanks a lot. Have a great week, and take care of each other.